Okay, when you barrack for the Melbourne Football Club, the inevitability of failure is one of life's great constants, like death, taxes, and a drunken Titus and Sergio Variety Hour podcast. Here we go again. It's nearly finals time, and we're still not sure if Melbourne are even going to make it. I'm Sergio Paradise, and this great man here is Titus O'Reilly, still drunk.
It's taken us a few days to record this because
we've been processing it.
It's just, I still can't really get over it. And then you have over the weekend's results.
Yeah.
And then they announce Hogan's injured yesterday. And I'm like, yep.
There you go. It's the perfect storm.
Well, Hogan to me has looked injured for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
My question more is, he looked bad on the day. Like, I don't know how he could have done with a rest in some time in the last 6 weeks, I reckon. But
I agree with that totally. But you also got to wonder, what's with the foot injuries down there? You got Jack Viney's got the similar thing.
Yeah.
Tom McDonald had it, but he's come good now. But, you half expect him to go over any moment. Is it Gosh's paddock? Is that the problem where they train?
Well, because the Pies trained there for a while, but now they're blaming their other new track for
They've got their own track now.
But they're saying that's too hard. That's where all their problems come from.
Everything's too hard now. When the turf at Etihad is softer than the outdoor ones, you know you're struggling.
Yeah, no, it's a strange one, but it was pretty bad. So it means that Hogan's out for the rest of the year, which is just... The thing about being a Melbourne supporter, though, is they all kind of just... build into the one big depressing mix. So you don't really react. The individual ones, you kind of go, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There's never just one thing,
Yeah, so there you kind of go, oh. And the problem is every D's fan I've spoken to and some non-D's fans, they still go, oh, we're still worried about you guys. And you kind of go, that's even worse because it's like there's the hope is still there. And in the back of your head, you're going, you know what? We could roll West Coast. We could roll GWS.
Yeah.
We could win the next 2 games and then go
Finish
on a tear.
fourth. Yeah.
But the odds of it, you're more likely to will lose both.
Oh, exactly. And then when you hear David King on TV go, I'm still bullish about Melbourne, you go, okay, we're gone. We're history now.
My thing about Melbourne is I think I actually am not that down in that I think that Richmond did this for a couple of years where they just couldn't figure it out. They just couldn't figure out that ability under pressure to bring everything together. And Melbourne remind me of that a lot. Like, they dominate on everything that should matter. And then they just don't, but they don't know how to, like for instance, they go forward 50 more than anyone. And the good teams just, and Alir did this to us on the weekend. They just have someone floating down back. They have enough down there, and then they just rebound and kill us on. And Melbourne have not figured out a way to kind of not just bomb it in.
That's been the problem in the last, I was going to say a few weeks, but probably longer than that.
Yeah, but now we're actually getting a lot of the ball in there too.
As you say, we get more inside 50s than anyone else. But so often they just bomb it in. And even when I can't remember whether, I think it could have been Angus Brayshaw, who's usually pretty good.
Yeah.
At one stage on Sunday, he came streaming through the centre. He wasn't under pressure.
Yeah.
He had 5 metres clear around him, and he's just absolutely slotted it down Heaney's throat, who was on his own.
Yeah.
Whereas he could have just chipped it. You'd rather chip it to a contest than hit an opposition player on lace out.
Oh, exactly. That's where a lot of it's coming in. So you hope if they ever clicked on any of that, they would be.
My only hope this week is that without Hogan there, they might emulate or try and emulate the Richmond model of having all small forwards and not bombing it in so much.
And sort of high pressure, lock it in sort of thing. Well, that could be interesting. Then we could train for Freo for all those draft picks that everyone talks about. Nathan Brown got rubbed out last night for 3 weeks. It was a 3-match suspension for... I don't know why they went to... He was straight to the tribunal, wasn't he?
Yeah. Chris O sent him straight there.
Someone was saying to me, why did they challenge it? But they didn't challenge it. It went straight there and they then had to defend it.
I've copped a fair bit of flack over this, but I reckon he's a bit harshly done by Nathan Brown. Yeah. I said that there's no rule that says your opposition player has to see it coming, right?
No,
he was too late. There's no question. But he didn't hit him in the head. That was my other thing.
My thing was, there was a bunch of the commentary during it. I was watching this live, and the commentary during it was all about how it was bad because Sard hadn't seen it. And I think yes, that was part of the reason he was injured because he didn't see it coming. But you're right. It's not like you have to telegraph that you're coming.
No, you
so
don't.
that to me wasn't the point. I think only that it contributed to the injury, but that's not part of the penalty. It's part of the reason. My problem was purely around lateness.
Yeah. He took forever to get there.
He took 3 weeks to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like that was the thing. Like it wasn't just a borderline one. So where he's not in enormous amount of trouble is it wasn't a punch. It was a footy act.
Yeah,
if you call it that. So it was a hip and shoulder, which is legal, and he didn't hit the head and all that.
Theoretically, still legal.
Yeah, but you can't go that late.
No,
and that's where they're going to throw and the fact he went off concussed and. They're just saying, because otherwise, if you let that happen, if you didn't come down hard on that or it was a legal act, everyone would be doing that every time. There wouldn't be a single ball player left playing.
That is true. I mean, it was that late. It wasn't one of those ones where you can argue, oh, look, it was too late. I couldn't pull out, because I was moving at such pace,
Yeah,
he wasn't.
Right.
He just strode in and crunched him.
He took 4 or 5 steps, and it was like...
He could have easily stepped around him or stopped.
Sard had time to raise a family and send them all to uni in between it. So he actually said, this was Brown said in his defence, and I think what he's saying here shows that he can be an AFL executive sometime for his grasp of reality. My intent was to stop his run being effective inside 50. I came in to slow him up and saw him release the ball late, but it was never my intention to make contact with his head. Now, the thing for me is, I get what he's saying about, to impede him being able to continue running in after he disposed of the ball. But once again, that doesn't mean you can just run through everyone late to stop them because that would be, you'd have this sort of, it's shepherding well off the ball.
He could have done a reasonably harmless shepherd instead.
Yeah. The Tribunal is one of my favourite things to follow on Twitter.
Yeah.
Because the arguments the lawyers, they have, it is amazing to me still to this day that, if you've committed a serious crime and you don't have any money, you're probably going to get legal aid or something.
Yeah.
Yet, even if it's, whatever it is, but you've got the AFL Tribunal, these QCs, the best lawyers in the country.
Yeah.
Just like Robert Richter's represented some of these people.
Yeah, what's he, 15 grand a day?
So these guys all rock up and do it. With him, nothing says how ingrained the footy is in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Then David Grace, QC, and all these guys.
There's been a number of Galbullies over the years.
It's
at the Tribunal.
It's the better lawyers all go into that. Like Jeff Gleeson does it. He's a QC. He's the AFL counsel. They're all QCs.
Yeah, of course
it's the most cashed up, sort of court in the land. And it's all nonsense.
They're all MCC members. It's all about the big end of town,
Well, they must all be fans of the various clubs and they get looked after. I mean, because no one's paying them out, surely.
No, of course not.
Do you reckon they laugh because they're just sort of, because you've got only a couple of days to look at the
brief.
The brief. It's not like a murder case or even a commercial litigant thing or something. It's
600 pages to digest.
Do you reckon they just laugh at it because they just rock up and they've barely thought about it and go,
Well, you don't even see them wearing their barrister's robes or their little, they're more likely to wear a club cap.
It's got to be televised.
Oh, that's the thing I've been saying for years. I mean, they're televising and broadcasting everything. I thought the Tribunal, if they couldn't make a buck out of televising that, they'd be, it'd be brought to you by Slater and Gordon or whatever.
Do you reckon we could do a TV show called Law and Order AFL? Just as the dun-dun, dun-dun. We can write everything building up to the case.
Oh, it could. Oh, yeah, you could show the incident from lots of different angles and then you'd put up the super on the screen. Jeff Gleeson's chambers, Queen Street, Melbourne.
Yeah, that's right. The other thing I love about it is the hearing will often go, and it was the case in this one again, the hearing goes for hours and they argue length, like the Gaff one they were bringing in his high school principal.
Yeah.
And they all give character references and they all
he had more character references than
Yeah, and they argue every single bit. So they spend 3 hours sometimes arguing the case, and then you always read at the end, it took the tribunal less than 10 minutes to decide.
Yeah, it's like, thanks for that. 3 weeks.
3 weeks, like it's like everything said, I don't think changes anything ever. Like this one, I think was less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, but even it didn't go as long as the Gaff one. But even Nathan Brown got plenty of he's a good bloke character references.
It is,
which I'm sure he is a good bloke, but
yeah,
and it was totally out of character.
The only one, we were talking about this before we got on air, like, it's the Barry Hall one's an example. We kept seeing Barry Hall do these interviews about how he changed, yet when you actually look at his record, his last game in the AFL in Queensland, he played a game of footy in Queensland, not obviously the AFL level, but it was his final ever game. This is 2017, so last year, he belted 2 blokes. So the idea, but he'd all along kept saying, yeah, I've really come to terms. I'm haunted by this violence. But you're still doing it. Like, so how's that unrelated?
And the great thing about that final charge to Barry Hall is that he belted some bloke that was pretty much unprovoked.
And he broke. There's footage of it, and it's exactly like the Staker hit.
And then the second bloke came in to say, "Why did you hit my teammate?" So he snotted him as well.
Yeah, and that guy didn't even grab him or anything. Just said, "Why did you do that, you idiot?" And he's so useless. So there's all this stuff about character, and you kind of go, what point is action part of your character? Yeah,
or at what point do people just throw their hands up and go, yeah, his character's pretty poor, actually. He's actually a dick.
I think the Gaff one was one of the rare examples where everyone I've spoken to seems to have been in genuine shock that he did that. Like, it's the one...
any player to have done it, he's the least likely.
Yeah, like, there's not many. Most of you go, when, like, Hodge and Lewis have been, suspended in the past. No one, I mean, as much as everyone says they're good blokes, no footy fans going, oh, I can't believe
that's a shock.
They whacked someone. But with Gaff, it was one of the rare. But it's almost like the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah, true.
Rather than the thing. Talking of striking, Michael Christian came out. We talked about this last week, but he came out with some new stuff. The Cale Hooker, I don't know if you saw, he got a misconduct fine for a swinging arm on St Kilda's Daniel McKenzie last Friday night.
Swinging arm makes it sound like it was accidental.
Yeah, so
it wasn't just swinging.
He gave him a punch, right?
Yeah.
Now, Christensen got a bit of heat because he only gave him a fine, and he said that he believed the game was at the moment strong enough against striking, and maintained that any strike must have a level of impact to warrant a suspension. He said that while he had the capacity to upgrade Hooker's charge on the basis of potential to cause serious injury, he rejected the suggestion that it was warranted. And this is what Christensen said about it. The contact was made in the end with the inside of the arm. The look of it is why he was fined. So just the look of it.
Yeah.
The vibe.
The optics.
The optics. There's still got to be a degree of impact to consider those other provisions. In this particular case, I didn't believe it warranted a suspension. He said Hooker had not reached the level of impact required to up the charge. Like everything, there's got to be a level of impact. Sometimes this gets a little misread. He then said, if you look closely at the strike, there was actually no impact to the head of any force whatsoever. With that, the decision was made to fine. Now, he also said that if he started to suspend every player for apparent strikes or attempted as well, or light ones like this. He suspended them. It would create carnage.
This is what I like when he says, he suggested, who actually said it out loud, penalising someone for carnage will create more carnage. How does that work?
So he also said that, to me, this is where I think they're fundamentally wrong, because you've seen this often, right? Some of these hits, like strikes, I heard Buckley arguing, like, well, what's a punch? How can you identify what's a punch and what's not? And I'm like, well, it's like pornography. You know it when you see it. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, you know when someone swung a fist at someone, right? So there's a bit of a difference between a jump or push and all this. Secondly, we've talked about this before, like, Hooker, you can get someone can get a glancing blow from a punch to the head that's not very hard, and just depending on angle and a whole bunch, it can kill him. Yeah. So what I find interesting about the AFL's position is the weakness of it considering the severity of the outcome. So you see a player get hit in the head in the next 2 years and dies. Just that's the scenario they're setting themselves up for, and they'll be accused of not doing enough. Now, to me, if Hooker got 1 week, it's not a football act like Nathan Brown, but if he got 1 week, that little niggle, he was annoyed, and so he went in and tried to whack him, and he was lucky he didn't really connect, right? He was kind of lucky more than anything else. I'm not saying it was like a roundhouse, but it was still an attempt to have a whack at a player and hurt a player. Not part of the game in any way, shape or form. If he got 1 week, how's that carnage? You know what? There would be no carnage. You know why? Because they would all stop doing it overnight.
Of course they would. That's what we said last week, and I agree with that. I mean, he was lucky that it missed, but it's a glancing blow can be just as damaging as a full-on hit.
Yeah.
Just as, you go back to the Barry Hall on Staker. Now, he absolutely connected beautifully.
Yeah.
Now, if he'd missed, say, even if just by pure chance Staker had unwittingly turned his head,
or just fallen over at that point or something,
and Barry Hall had missed and just got a fresh air shot.
Yeah.
He still should have been suspended for the punch.
Well, that's right. We talked about this. I think there should be a minimum for just throwing a punch, whether you connect or not, is almost irrelevant. And now it doesn't have to be 10 weeks. It can be a week.
Yeah.
If you throw a punch and miss,
well,
fine, but you get a week.
It'll stop.
They will stop in. This is the amazing thing.
But you can't have that because it'll be carnage.
It'll be carnage. Now, what about someone who gets knocked like Brayshaw's That's real carnage.
Yeah.
The outcome of that punch is real carnage. As much as Gaff might be the nicest bloke on the planet, there's Brayshaw drinking out of a straw, and who knows what's going to happen with him in the future.
Yeah, Gaff complaining, how badly he's felt, but he can still chew a steak.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, right? Hall did that a lot. He would come in and say, it's really affected me badly. And Gaff did that going, everyone knows I'm hurting. And you go, yeah, it should hurt.
Yeah.
What's this thing of most of us avoid that by not clocking someone. It should hurt. That's part of the,
I reckon you could safely say that Gaff won't be hitting anybody again for the next couple of years. He will not be throwing any. I reckon he's done and dusted on that front.
So anyway,
I'm just suggesting I don't think Gaff will be a repeat offender, Barry Hall style.
No, I don't think so.
He's a bit smarter than that.
So on the weekend, we briefly touched on Melbourne up front, but North Melbourne and Port were also, you would have to say, incredibly disappointing.
Yeah.
North, especially with the sort of the game on the line, and to lose to the Bulldogs, who don't usually even show up for second halves.
That was. I thought this was the one certainty of the weekend. Yeah. That North would beat Footscray. But,
well, I watched it on replay because I
didn't see much of this game.
Yeah, so I watched it on replay because I was like, I've got to, and I sort of was trying to find how they managed to actually lose, and they basically just stopped. It was unbelievable. Yeah.
It's all St Kilda-esque.
Well, I don't know whether they've just played above themselves all year, and it's just sort of starting to
run out of steam.
Yeah, they're sort of getting to that sort of point. Port were disappointing as well.
Rubbish too, yeah.
I don't know, they're just not quite there really.
And I know you're right, but then you look at Port's team on paper, and there's not too many holes in there, and there's some absolute stars out there. I
know, but there's also you look at some of the ones. It's like when they said, we're bringing in all these big stars in the off season. They brought in Rockcliffe, Motlop, and Watts.
Jack Watts, yeah.
Motlop and Watts are pretty. They can do great things sometimes, but they're not consistent enough.
They're not match winners.
And they're not. Well, they can be occasionally, and that's that. But they're not consistent enough. And I saw they had a heap of injuries, Port, and I know Dixon's out for the rest of the year. Yeah. And I saw a headline. I think it might have been the Adelaide Advertiser that said Port's finals hopes now rest on Watts.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Are you trolling them? Yeah. So, I don't know, that's sort of a hard thing. Daniel Hitchcock wrote in, what do you fear more, Melbourne missing finals or beating less top 8 sides than the Gold Coast Suns? Well, I think you can fear both because they're both like a good chance.
Yeah, I agree with that. They're both as bad as each other.
It's... Melbourne missing again, that'll be 3 years in a row. Because people remember last year well, but the year before, remember, we lost to Carlton. If we'd beaten Carlton, we would have played finals.
Jeez, I had forgotten about that because, keep thinking about the 0.05%
Exactly.
last year. But yeah, the year before we were a dead set chance.
Yeah, so it's not a one-off sort of thing.
And we finished ninth again this year. That's becoming very Richmond-like. Yeah.
Well, the only positive side of that is you look at it and go, oh, well, Richmond went through this, and you turn it around. Like, you know, there is a bit of the sacking coaches instantly.
Mm.
I find this about, you know, because Hardwick proved us all wrong. Like,
oh, yeah.
Because Richmond broke their previous model of sacking coaches and eating their own by Gale had seen that, and Peggy O'Neill was a lot able to suck up the pressure and just go, you know what, we're going to stick with what we've got because changing gets you nowhere. But even with that mindset, they'd still given, Hardwick 7 or 8 years before they sort of came good, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like the old Richmond where they'd given him 3 seasons and then gone, right, you haven't won a premiership, you're out.
You're out, yeah.
So that was kind of, they even went above and beyond. Like, it wasn't, I didn't think it was an hysterical knee-jerk reaction to say Hardwick's had his time the year before they won the premiership. You know, because he hadn't been given no choice.
Yeah, you could have quite easily accepted that if they got rid of him.
Yeah, you wouldn't have gone, well, this is the Richmond of old, where they'd sack their coach every 5 minutes. But to their credit, they saw what they were doing. And now one of the interesting things is Gale said afterwards, you know, they said, why did you not bow to that pressure? He said, I think they were underestimating what a terrible team when he took over, how bad we were. We were like the worst list pretty much in the comp, right? I look at, are people going to learn from that with the Bolton situation? And even now, Melbourne supporters are calling for
a good one
to go. And I'm like, well, hang on. Like, now I'm not saying, I don't know if Goodwin's the best or the worst coach, but it's a bit soon. Like,
yeah, it's his second
season. They've shown glimpses of some great stuff. The loss on the weekend was just goal kicking. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily his fault. And you find out later Jesse's probably playing on and who missed a lot of shots on one leg. So I don't know. Like, it's just, I think it's changed the mentality. And Bolton's a case in point. Like, they keep talking about, is Bolton going to come under real pressure in the media? I'm like, well, for what? What did he inherit?
Well, that's right. I mean, you for every good coach, you can only go with what you've got on the park. And the thing about, like, Goodwin at Melbourne is when you change a coach, you're not just getting rid of what you might describe as an underperforming coach.
Yeah.
You're changing everything from the game style to the plans to the way
assistant coaches,
how everything's done. It's a lot more than moving one bloke out of the office and moving another one in.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's why you've sort of got to stick with them for some period of time. And I think hopefully the one thing to come out of Richmond winning the flag is that maybe clubs now will stick with their coaches a little bit longer. Look at Alan Richardson in St Kilda. He's under the pump like nobody else.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying, and the powers at St Kilda keep saying that we're sticking with the plan, you know.
Well, I think
there comes a time where that's
there does, but you could even argue Richmond had got to that point where you could have argued.
Yeah.
It's only with hindsight that now seems silly, but at the time you could have argued they've given him every chance.
Oh yeah, no question.
But you know, it is interesting. Matt Conahan wrote in: "Is losing to the Eagles at home after the siren now a proud Port Adelaide tradition?"
You think they should put that into their song? Proud Port Adelaide tradition.
We never stop unless it's against the Eagles at Adelaide Oval.
At the 29-minute mark. You know.
It was heartbreaking.
I was in the car
actually
Saturday night listening to that, you know, with a minute to go and thinking, Port, I actually tipped Port here. I thought, good.
Yeah.
And then West Coast kicked that goal. I thought, hello. And then I was listening to Triple M, so it was over there, so you listen to the absolute C-grade commentators, and then they start screaming that McGovern's marked it inside 50. I thought, put your glass down. He will kick this for sure. Absolute Monty.
And then, like, for Port fans, that had to have been one of the worst days that they can, like, you had all the injuries, and to lose like that, it was just amazing. So Port and Melbourne now look in real danger of potentially missing finals. Jimmy Fabian wrote, with 2 weeks to go and Melbourne a game clear in the 8, has Melbourne sent you their guide of how to purchase finals tickets?
Jeez,
I don't think we'll be getting
there
one of
might
those.
be somebody in the marketing department in Melbourne just sitting a bit tight this year.
Now, I've been told by a few people, though, that Melbourne weren't actually responsible for that booklet. That's just part, the AFL does all of those. And so the AFL had decided that.
Yeah, but you know.
So whoever did it, did it, whether it was Melbourne or the AFL, whoever the people, the area responsible for sending those out, you reckon they're going to be a little, like...
A bit more circumspect.
Let's just hold off.
Let's just wait until after round 23.
Well, you can do Richmond's, you can do the Eagles. Like, you do them as... You know, but you got to wait.
Anything with
don't press
Melbourne
just yet.
You wait until it's locked in.
Matthew Holland wrote in, is the best analogy for Melbourne trying to make finals the Simpsons episode where Homer jumps Springfield Gorge? It starts out really positive with a good chance of success, but it ultimately ends in crushing disappointment and physical hurt.
Oh, I can't think of a better analogy, actually, Matthew. That is very, very good.
It is amazing. I kind of... I can't even go into the idea that we're going to actually possibly miss. No, miss.
Miss, yeah.
Like from, you know.
Oh, look, I'm just expecting to miss.
I am a bit, but that's what you always do to like.
That's just a natural Melbourne reaction.
But people do that with everything. You convince yourself it's going to go badly, so if it does, you kind of think, I've pre-prepared myself. But it doesn't work. You just end up going through that twice.
That's true.
But anyway, one of the sad things watching on, I was at the game obviously on Sunday when Alex Johnson went down. And I got to tell you, I was sitting amongst obviously, you know, Melbourne members.
Yeah.
And around the crowd, the ripple that went through, like for an opposition player, almost instantly everyone knew what had happened.
Yeah.
And the ripple and the applause he got as he walked off, and I just thought, gee, you know, like it's a cruel game, this game.
What's that, his 6th ACL?
This will be his 6th now. And this is his good knee. Yeah, but both of his knees are stuffed, so when I say good, it's relative.
I mean, you don't want to put words in his mouth or any suggestions, but it surely must be going through his head that, I'm done and dusted now.
Well, I tell you what was amazing about it is after he'd done it, at quarter time, he's out there on the crutches firing up his teammates.
Yeah.
Like, Melbourne should hire him to teach them a bit about desire. And then after the game, the Melbourne and Sydney players all got around him, which was nice. So footy has those nice moments, but it was pretty terrible. I think he's also had, as well as the 6 knee reconstructions, I think what we were already saying the other way, he's had like something like 12 different other operations on his knees just to get, not full reconstructions, but stuff to get them right. And it does seem with some players, they just have this...
Footy's not their game. I mean, it's just their bodies just break down too often. Whereas you see other blokes, you know, who played 300 games in a row with, you know, not much more than a stubbed toe or something. It's just the luck of the draw sometimes.
Burgoyne's like that.
Yeah, exactly.
He's signed on for an extra year next year. So
he'll play until he's 50.
Yeah, he's like 100 now or something. And he's still good. Like,
yeah, exactly. You'd still have him in your side.
You know, he's a terrific player. Huge news this week. Bad news for you and I, but good news for humanity and fashion. Hawthorn have decided to ditch their clash jumpers for good. Jeff Kennett has come out and said.
Because they've had some of the all-time greats.
The Diamond one comes to mind, and the Power Ranger one.
Yeah, the Power Ranger, the Diamond one, like the Harlequin one. It looked like
that was
the sort of waistcoat that your idiot uncle would wear to a wedding.
And that was back in the John Platten was in one of them, so that's how long ago
right.
So it's a proud tradition of horrible jumpers. I mean, their own one is terrible too. So like the fact they're not going to have clash jumpers, it's not like we're suddenly going to have really nice things to look at.
No.
You know, I don't know how we were talking about this on a show you and I did recently for the ABC that we've recorded, a quiz show, and it was a members' vote that chose yellow and brown.
Yeah, it was too.
So it was by popular decision, which
question,
is why another reason to not trust Hawthorn supporters when they chose that as their colours.
I could not believe that, and it is true. And it was back, the 1930s?
Something like that, yeah. So
where they put it to a vote, and the members,
The other
yellow and brown, that's a good idea.
Do you think there's just really bad graphic designers out there just gutted by this decision? Seriously, I always thought they just put it out to like school groups or something.
Yeah, just put out a tender, you know.
One of the things that's funny is
I think you could just sketch one while you're playing on the pokies at one of Hawthorn's many venues.
One of the things Kennett said is he wanted to get rid of the white clash strip because he said white is the colour of surrender, and at Hawthorn we never surrender. We might get beaten, but we fight every match out to the final siren. The strip has been consigned to the waste paper bin forever. Let's face it, brown and gold does not conflict with any other colours, so we will wear it proudly every game but one. And the one that he's talking about is they will wear the Indigenous jumper every season. There's also talk that they'll keep the brown and pink jumper for the home game in Launceston because that supports the Cancer Council in Tasmania's Pink Ribbon campaign. Yeah. The thing about the pink and brown jumper is this is my argument. Like a lot of people said that's a horrible jumper, but a lot of people point out, well, it's for raising money for cancer. Does something being for charity make it right?
No, it doesn't. It was like Melbourne's jumper on Sunday for the Field of Women. Now, the Field of Women thing is terrific.
Yeah.
But I don't see why we have to sacrifice the red for the pink and then have a pink woman on the front of the jumper.
Yeah, you reckon
it just
doesn't look good.
Doesn't look any good. You know? and I can't see how a bunch of footballs wearing a different coloured jumper in any way helps stop the spread of cancer.
Well, it's raising money and awareness.
Yeah, well, raise awareness, but
don't. There are limits. You're saying.
I
don't mind the Melbourne one so much because it's really linked to someone. I just think mixing pink and brown.
Yeah, that's. Well, stop mixing gold and brown. I mean, it's just never going to work.
So it's all really just Hawthorn's fault. So while the Hawks are just getting rid of all of that, we've got Carlton at the moment, and this shows you their number one priority at the moment too, which is they've announced that they're in hardcore negotiations with Nike, who are their
jumper sponsor,
jumper provider, to get rid of the grey jumper that's everyone hates.
See, my question to this is, why do Nike decide? Why do they make the decision? Sure, they can pay for the jumpers, but surely the club says, listen, we're over this grey jumper. The backlash has been crap. We think it looks rubbish.
Well,
we're sticking with you, Nike, but we want a different colour. Why do Nike say, no, sorry, boys, you got to have the grey one?
So apparently what happens is, like, when you sign up with one of these, deals to produce it, they come in and they do a design. So it's not like Carlton didn't originally tick off on this design.
Yeah.
So they can't sort of turn around and go, we had nothing to do with it. They did. Nike probably presented them with a bunch of designs and this got the tick off. Now that the anger's so much, they're going to Nike and say, well, we hate this. Can you stop it? And Nike are saying, well, we've got a design process operates 2 years in advance, and it's linked to our production and and the machine setup and all this. Now, I can't believe it's impossible to change it, but they're probably saying, well, it costs us money then to do it because we kind of we put the money into designing it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying this is Nike's argument, right?
Yeah, but I don't got that argument.
For listeners, Serge is shaking his head so like this is the most disappointed I've ever seen
2 years in advance to change the jumper. Every club comes up with a new Indigenous jumper every year. They manage to,
I know, but I think they get people to do that as sort of an honorary thing where Nike are probably saying, hey, you want a new jumper? You pay for the new jumper. You pay for the new design and we've got to recalibrate our machines or whatever to do it. They also probably have a backlog of these printed.
Yeah.
Well, so Nike are like, why would we, we want to sell these or not print a bit more. It'll all be it's commercial reasons.
It's all commercial. It'll all
and
be
Carlton
money.
Probably going, well, we can't afford. So they're trying to do some deal with Nike to let them do it. But
so I reckon their next year's clash jumper will feature a tail wagging a dog. That's how it should be, Carlton.
They should just the Carlton Nikes.
Yeah, the Carlton Nikes. Yeah,
it makes more sense. So
maybe they should pinch Hawthorn's Harlequin jumper.
Well, they say here that it takes 12 months for them to order for next year what they would do. More than 12 months ago, they ordered for 2019. So they're saying they're seeing if they can change it. But it might not be possible.
Of course it's possible.
I love this. They're forced to kind of wear this terrible. The shorts are the weird bit with those pockets and all that.
The pockets and the little dark blue triangle bit on the back.
I still believe there's only
which
about
is chamois apparently.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a bit of chamois so you can dry your fingers.
Why didn't they put them on the front?
Yeah,
that would have been pretty funny.
Yeah, or it's like wiping your golf club clean after a bunker shot, you know.
Do you think, though, that I think the majority of Clash jumpers are rubbish and pointless?
Yeah.
There are a couple of games where you go, yes, these two teams do need to, but it's always been a marketing-driven thing.
Of course it is. And it all started because, like the English Premier League and the European soccer teams, they're just about playing a different jumper every week.
Yeah.
And it's purely because they sell millions of them.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's all quite understandable. But for AFL clubs, they don't sell as many as they do in Europe, obviously. And this 12 to 18 months to 24 months lead time is just rubbish.
Says the mate.
When it comes to producing fashion garments,
your knowledge of the fashion industry.
Yeah, I'm your go-to guy.
I wish people could see what you were wearing right now as you rail about your knowledge of fashion. So another news for Carlton looks like I think they might have actually done it. Re-signed. They were talking about or being very close. Re-signing Dale Thomas to another 14th season or another year.
That'll turn their fortunes around.
I reckon that's more an indication of. So they were saying, it's in the media I was reading. They're saying, he's become this great halfback player and all this sort of stuff. I think it shows you how low the talent stocks are.
Yeah.
At Carlton, not that
They've
Daisy's
got so many youngsters, but
he's averaging 22 possessions or so he's not saying he's been horrific, but the idea that it's if you were at any other club.
Yeah. Look, it's not hard to get 22 possessions playing across the half back line, especially when
Carlton.
The ball's there for most of the game, you know.
So they're looking to sign him. And in other news, as well as that, Alex Fasolo is looking close to leaving Collingwood to join Carlton. Surely this is these two key signings, if they do manage to get him, is going to turn around Carlton.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, you can just see a Carlton forward line led by Fasolo and Casbolt. You know, that's got premiership written all over it.
How many games do you reckon they'll play each year? Maybe 2?
3 or 4 each.
Together? Not many. So,
Fasolo, good luck to him. But
I heard Bolton say they're not going to make wholesale changes over the off-season.
Well, they got the number 1 draft pick. I mean, who knows whether they're going to keep that or sell that for a couple of good players or.
So Melbourne did that when they did a deal which meant GWS got an earlier pick and got Josh Kelly.
Yeah, they got picked 2.
And Melbourne got Dom Tyson, a pick that became Christian Salem.
Yeah.
And I want to say, but I might be wrong, a later pick.
I think a later pick which they used maybe for Jaden Hunt.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I look at that pick and I get Roos's view is the draft is so unpredictable that you're better to get, instead of 1 player, get 3
and hope 2 of them are really good.
Yeah, pretty decent players.
So if that was
But then you look at it now and you kind of look at that trade and you go, well, Salem's not a bad player.
He's a good player.
And
Hunt's a good player.
Hey,
I mean,
Dom Tyson, you wouldn't say is a great player because
he's a good, serviceable player.
Yeah, but you look at that, you don't have those players, but you drop Josh Kelly into that Melbourne team.
Yeah, I'd much rather have Josh Kelly than Dom Tyson, I've got to say.
And Salem.
Yeah,
if you could not go ahead with that trade now, what would you do?
But then again, you have to assume that Melbourne would have taken Josh Kelly.
Well, they were going to, so that wasn't the difficult bit.
Yeah.
To me, it's just. It is. It's with hindsight. You look at that. And
hindsight at draft time.
Although at the time, a few people were pretty big on Kelly, saying he's going to be a future.
Yeah, I mean, the worst hindsight one was the couple of years before where Melbourne took Tom Scully and Jack Trengove 1 and 2 when they could have had Dustin Martin and Nat Fyfe.
Do you think that was a bad move? I would have said at the flip side though, if you dropped even Nat Fyfe and Dustin Martin into the Melbourne club under Schwab that was existed
They
at
probably
that
would
time.
have been gone by now anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
The idea that have become the players they've become, I have serious doubts.
Yeah, no, that's a very
because
good
it
point.
seemed like you could, not saying that they're not more talented than Tom Scully and Trengove to begin with, but that ability to just ruin young players.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, good news for Carlton. I bet Carlton fans are excited about getting for Solo and rushing out and going to get a jumper and everything.
Is that with their war chest? Do they have a war chest, Carlton?
Well, they must, but they don't call it a war chest. What would you call? They've got a giant brown paper bag.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
Do you think North's war
one of those briefcases with handcuffs?
Do you think North's war chest will ever request to trade itself? Now, here's an interesting thing. The E-League, which we talked about before.
This is your electronic
It's
sport,
the computer version on FIFA of the A-League.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this before. I was reading a thing this week because Canberra are looking to have an A-League bid, and they also want to therefore get linked into the E-League and have an E-League team because it's a lot easier to include a E-League team in your expansion plans because it's a teenager and a PlayStation 4.
And it doesn't include real people.
And a slab of Red Bull and you've got an E-team, right? You don't need to invest in all the infrastructure. So they want to get into it. And so I was reading up about this in an article and they said that the E-League Grand Final, and I still find this hard to believe, but I find it hard to believe that it's an amazing fact, not that it's not true.
Yeah.
I mean, that 2 million people tuned in to watch the E-League Grand Final.
On what, in what way, how did they tune in? It wasn't like televised, though.
Yeah, well, no,
was
it's broadcast over the internet.
Right, so it was on a website or a Facebook.
Yeah, the kids today with their internet.
Yeah, the interwebs. Yeah.
So can you believe that? So basically what this says is that the A-League, the E-League, is way more popular than the A-League.
Well, that's understandable.
Well, because anything's more popular than the A-League.
Yeah, well...
Is there a place for sport in the future?
Well, I was just about to say...
the next generation are just more...
Given how popular and successful the E-League is there actually any need for the A-League?
Well, I think only to provide inspiration for what the E-League teams are.
Oh, but, any young hacker can create a new soccer team online.
Do you think the A-League players get, when the E-League players are around the club, they get autographs?
How's the E-League going to handle Usain Bolt at the Central Coast Mariners?
That's right. Well, also... You can't punch anyone in the E-League. That's well
true.
Out of... it's much easier.
Does the E-League have flares?
They've got a problem with it. Can you pretend to be a supporter in the E-League? Like you get to control in the stands, you can go and get food and do all that sort of stuff?
And do they have to keep them supporters separated in the E-League?
So anyway... that's kind of... I just find that amazing. Like, this thing's happening if you're sort of, over 40, you look at the rise of esports, and if you're around 35 to 45, you're the first generation that grew up with video games as a kid, and were the first generation, probably if you're around 35 to 40, who learnt that it wasn't just for kids. You've played it all your life.
Yeah.
Anyone over sort of 45, 50... find that breathtakingly mad because they didn't grow up with computer games. They see them as kid stuff. Yeah. Even if and they definitely not something you kept playing all through your adult life, right?
And for older people like that, you quite accept, that's part of technology and all that. But I still reckon at that age, people have to struggle to get their head around the fact that kids can play against other kids who aren't physically in the room at the same time. Could be playing as a kid in Mumbai or New York City while they're sitting in East Bentley.
And then you then try and explain to those people that more people tune in to watch computer games being played by other people.
Well, there's a massive...
I can understand everyone getting online to play against each other.
Yeah, that just makes sense.
But I am just old enough that computer games are not new to me and been around all my life and stuff. So playing computer games makes absolute sense. Watching computer games to me is just amazing. Like I just don't get it at all. I'm not critiquing it.
I could sort of
understand
watching and the kids going, well, whoever's playing this game is much better than me. So you're watching an elite.
Yeah.
I can't call it an athlete, but a player of this game. I sort of get that, but
but even that
bigger and bigger every.
If I was playing FIFA and then someone said you should see this guy play FIFA, and I got online and watched them play, I'd watch 10 minutes and go, "This guy's amazing," right? Yeah. But I don't think I'd ever be like.
You're going to pay $50 to go to Rod Laver Arena.
Well, not so much even that, but it's more. I might watch for 5 minutes, see how much better they are than me. Go, that's amazing. Am I going back to watch that every week, and am I watching hours of it? Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like got the novelty value of, oh, that's interesting, but I don't know if I can sit there and watch two other people play that I don't even know.
Yeah,
but obviously I'm in the minority.
I mean, there's a big, I don't know, what would you call it, a tournament happening in Melbourne in a few weeks' time at Rod Laver Arena.
Well, the Bombers have a team, and the Crows have a team.
Yeah, I've got it. I reckon it won't be too far away when,
they all do.
They all have one.
In fact,
and then the sport itself will be,
Well, I can see a future where, the Adelaide Crows, the E-League team make all the money through sponsorship because they have worldwide following and billions of dollars coming in sponsorship, and they complain about having to fund the Adelaide Crows football team. They go, "You're the loss leader of us."
Well, I can see a time where there is simply no need for the sport anymore.
Oh, once the graphics get to the point where it looks exactly the same as the actual sport, you won't know.
And will the AFL E-League teams, will they argue over a night grand final and stuff like that?
In the E-League?
In the E-League. when will it be played,
Be terrific. Getting to some questions we got in. Dita wrote in, the AFL ladder predictor seems to be handling a fair bit of traffic at the moment pretty easily. Should the company behind it take over the census and the NBN?
Well, quite possibly. Or even, I mean, it's obviously got nothing to do with Optus because, because we saw that with the World Cup. But I'm surprised because I know the AFL app and what have you is all Telstra.
Yeah.
And it surprises me that it does kind of work seemingly
it's
as well
had
as
its
it does.
moments, but it seems to work a bit better.
It seems to be working better now because in the past, the AFL websites and all the club websites were just appalling. Yeah. I think they've been fixed up a little bit.
Well, I think also I've always thought with call centres and internet things, give it to the betting agencies. Mm. No one ever says, "Oh, I had trouble getting on to place a bet."
Yeah.
That is true. The technology they've got.
Yeah.
They'll siphon your money off, no problem.
Any time of the day or not.
Yeah, that's if I was Optus or the government or something, I'd be going, Sportsbet will be running our census. Now, the good news is it's not going to collapse this time. You do have to play several multis to actually complete the census.
Yeah, I'll take the seat of Bruce into Longford with an extra 100 on Dutton, getting 5% or less.
Oh yeah, I bet on this religion being up and this religion being down in the census. Andrew Byrne wrote in, if the Bulldogs need to win 6 of the next 2 games to make the finals, how many do Carlton need to win?
11. Maybe 11 or 12.
Still a mathematical chance.
Yeah, mathematical possibility.
It is a fair bit. It gets sad this time of year, I think, when it sort of gets to the point where there's these teams that they're just pointless games, basically.
They're just hanging out for draft day.
There's nothing worse than having them trot out and play a game where you're playing someone who's not in the finals and you're not in the finals.
Yeah.
This must be the equivalent of doing the boring shift at the supermarket. Or something,
The Davis Cup dead rubber when you've already won.
It's like, what's the point? Brett Willowwhite wrote in, should Gold Coast become the Northern Suns and follow the grey nomad winter with games in Cairns, Darwin and Broome, clinics and sausage sizzles at caravan parks along the way? This is the best idea I've heard.
Not a bad idea. You know what I like about this question? The phrase grey nomad winter. Yeah. I reckon this could be the new catchphrase.
Yeah.
For any of the team. They could wear Carlton jumpers.
Well, the Suns basically travelled this way anyway, so they spent a bunch of time in Perth. They went to China.
At caravan parks. What possibly could be wrong with that?
Imagine you're a bunch of 20-year-olds, instead of being based on the Gold Coast, you have to follow the grey nomad army around Australia.
Towing a caravan, you know.
Michael Barbaro wrote in, is it rude for deaf people to sign with food in their hands?
Possibly. I mean, if you're doing the what's it called, Auslan,
yeah,
Auslan, with a hot dog in your hand, it could be misconstrued. Let's put it that way.
It could. It's a legitimate question. I'm interested to say any deaf people listening.
Yeah. Does the message or the meaning change if you're holding a can of Coke? Or is it considered rude? At the time, or is it rude?
Adrian A wrote in, I dreamt I couldn't sleep. Does that still count as sleep?
Hang on. I dreamt I couldn't sleep. No, that's just a dream, Adrian.
I reckon the quicker you get a self-help column to just shut down people's stupid questions.
Just bat them away.
Bat them away.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need self-help, you people. You just, just...
I think not caring is the key to life.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm more than happy to put my hand up for that.
Do you reckon we should give the T-shirt to Grey Nomad Winter?
The Grey Nomad Winter.
Oh, you got another one.
I did like Matthew Holland's analogy of The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah, all right.
That wasn't bad.
We'll give two away.
Two away, but Grey Nomad Winter is a great question.
We'll do two. All right, well, sorry this one was a little late, but, Serge and I are going to go back drinking and crying into each other's arms, and let's hope, for everyone's sake, that Melbourne maybe get a win out of the next 2 weeks. Oh. Although it'll be much better for the comedy.
It'll be interesting next week if we get pumped by West Coast and have to beat GWS in that last round.
The worst is if we got to the point where, because of percentage and everything, you can see this all lining up beautifully because it's on a Sunday. Not only do we have to beat the Giants,
GWS,
but we have to beat them by 24 points.
Yeah.
And we hover all day. We actually get in the front, but we hover all day, and we lose. We need 24 points, and we beat them by 23.
Yeah, well, we're 22 points in front when the siren goes, and
we have
a shot at goal after the siren.
Just need a point.
A point will put us into the finals.
And they miss.
Bang.
And they kick into the man in the mouth.
Or no, Melbourne. They'll play on.
We shouldn't laugh because they're going to bring this back and replay it, and it probably is the exact scenario that will happen.
I hope not, but who knows? Who knows?
On that nut, cheery thought, we'll see you later.